Hello guys. Yeah, we're going to be doing some cloth simulation today, which I am mildly terrified for because that's two topics I barely know back to back, i.e. rigging in the last two streams and then simulation in this one. I'm awful at both, but we'll see how far we can get. I've not really done much work off stream. I did these sweep wrappers quite a while ago. I just forgot to put them in the scene. I think I did these last week, and then I spent, I think it was like an hour Thursday night, like after the stream. I just quickly threw a material on these, but these were made in Marvelous Designer. They're a bit higher res than they need to be, but I just didn't want to do displacement and all that jazz, so eventually figured out how to get it to stay. It involves them being scaled up to 5 meters by 5 meters. Not 5 meters by 5 meters, like 5 meters by 2 meters, which is huge, but it works. And we got the suite inside there, so it's all like, you know, get the correct bounces, all that jazz. And yeah, so still don't know what I'm going to do for composition, because they feel a bit forced where they are, but I think this angle for him is pretty good. One thing as well that I need to think about is I'm debating changing the body shape again, because I know I like it the way it is, but the issue I've got now is the amount of this that will be off screen is really a lot, and this groom is going to be incredibly heavy. So I'm just like, well, if it's going to be off screen, I should probably change the pose. Like, I can make a pose that looks interesting still. Like, I could probably do something that, rather than going up at this point, it kind of sweeps around this way and goes back in, and that would like half the amount of groom. So it's a case of like, it's just going to be so heavy that I think I need to optimize that by changing the body shape so it can be smaller. Oh, how did you do the twist? It was the same way I did the twist in the last video. Or in the video where we tried it, where it's basically just, you know, pin an object and sew it to it and twist the pinned object because it doesn't sim. The key to get it to actually stick was to scale it up really big. Initially use the lever preset because it's really good at not clipping through itself. And then just before export, just quickly switch to, you know, whatever cloth is closest to what you want, tweak it, sim for a few frames to let it settle into a tighter twist, and then pause it, because this one was about 10 frames away from intersecting. Like, you can see it's starting here. You know, like literally after a few frames from here, it was just like tearing itself apart. It's intersecting there too, but you wouldn't notice at the distance we're at, so I don't really care. But yeah, so it's not technically holding the twist, it just looks like it is from a distance, but yeah. So this is where we're up to. We've got the candy and stuff over here. We've got the water, which I need to lower the water level so it's actually visible, because I think this is the camera angle I'm going to go with. Maybe a bit closer with a different aspect ratio. But yeah, I want to lower the water level just because with it being hidden, it feels like the glass is either empty or, well, it just feels like it's empty with floating bubbles in it. So I really want to kind of lower that just so you can see the tip of it. You don't need to see like any bright highlight, but just having something that makes it visually read a bit stronger. I also kind of want to change the shape of the glass to something a bit more interesting. We did find a glass shape on one of the previous streams that was like, it suddenly got wider, like halfway up. So I think doing that will help make this more interesting. Because currently it just feels so generic. It also feels like it's the wrong scale, but I'll have to check that. Because it just feels a bit small now that I look at it. But I'll get dimensions up and find out how that's all going. But yeah, so we've got, you know, 30 frames of sliding into pose. I realize that the pre-roll that I've done is wrong. What I need to do is have 30 frames of nothing and then however many frames I want of simulation, because I need the cloth to settle. So I'm going to do that first. So let's just turn off polygon selecting. I'm also going to close the render. But yeah, I think it's going fairly well. I still need to change the textures on this dude too. I think we're not far away from starting groom, at least on this guy. Maybe on the head relatively soon. I still need to decide on a pipeline, whether I want to do it in final pose or if I'm going to, well, the monster I'm going to do in final pose because there's no point rigging this. But yeah, I need to decide if I want to do the kid, like groom him in pose or not, because the clothing I'll have to do in pose, I think, just to get that little bit of fuzzies on there. But yeah, what else was there? I think that's pretty much it. I'm just going to minimize this. And let's turn off, our polygon selection's already off. I'm going to hide everything that isn't the controls, and all I need to do is just grab all of these and slide them forward. So now I've got 30 frames of nothing, and then it slides in, and that's just to allow the fabric to kind of drop. Maybe even doing 50 frames might be better. So let's do a pre-roll of 950. So that will allow it 2 seconds or just over 2 seconds to completely, drop and relax, then go into pose, and then we can, do whatever we need. We might need to space that out even more, actually. Playback speed, let's see what I've got that set to, because I felt a bit too... Oh, no, that is right. Alright, cool. Yeah, so... Oh god, what do we start with then? I kind of want to start with these in some way, just because they're going to be one of the more simple things to do, I think. Maybe famous last words, or the trousers. I think the trousers will be a fun one to start with. So let's hide the environment, because we don't need you. Because the trousers are never going to touch the ground. At least I hope not, anyway. We need to hide the box and the monster. Because again, I don't really need anything. I also need to get these sweet wrappers. I need to name those. So, sweet wrapper open geo. Cool. Then let's just go into the environment group. Put that back in there. Sweets group. Cool. And I'm going to need to freeze transformations on those guys. Modify freeze transformations. Cool. So how am I going to go about this then? I'm going to need to get the sim meshes, get the pants. I'm going to hide the... I need to hide this one for now. So this is our sim mesh. This is like a thin version of everything. I feel like it might be worth deleting these edge loops, but we've already kind of rigged it, so should be fine. They'll unravel slightly. Don't think we need the coat, not yet anyway, because I'll be simulating the coat on top of these, so we can hide that guy to get him out of the way. We're gonna need to. It looks like he's about to do some kind of sax solo. Is actually kind of digging it. So we're gonna need the body collision mesh, which just kind of proxies the shirt for me, and we're gonna need these guys. They're gonna need to be. They're gonna need to be passive colliders. So let's start getting our colliders set up first. So grab you, go to effects, then let's go encloth, create passive collider. Now I'm just going to check the solver display collision thickness, show. You're not showing me anything? I mean, I can set this back down, but I want to see it. Love it, it's immediately broken. Alright. So let's set it down to its default is like 0.02 or something. We'll just have to see if it explodes. And then let's do the same for this guy, encloth, create passive collider. Do you show me anything? No, you don't either. that mesh though. Oh man, I'm gonna have to fix that. Yeah, so what else is there? We have got that set up. So let's get this guy and do a create encloth. I'm gonna go to our encloth and just put encloth trousers and rigid. This one which one's which? So nRigid1 will be the legs. So nRigid legs, nRigid body. And then I'm just going to go into my nuclear settings. Also going to hide the hair. Go into my nuclear settings, and the first thing I've learned is that Maya's done with the space. So it assumes one Maya unit is, and I've been just watching tutorials constantly. In fact, I'll have to go into my search history and get the video I was watching, because it was actually really good. And it was only released like not that long ago, to be honest. Let's go into my history. Where is it? There it is.
Lesion.
So the video I've been watching is this one. I didn't actually finish it because I realized the time. But it seems like there's a lot of really good information in there. I do recommend it. But yeah, so the first thing I've learned is that oh, that's stopped working now. Beautiful. What happens if I hit play? Did I delete history on it? Oh, interesting. Alright. This is going to be a fun one. So when I put an enclosure on that, does it break? nRigid legs, nRigid body. Cool. And so that's working. So let's make sure I'm not deleting the history, because I might have legit done that. Is it set to a frame range? I'll get to the point that I was going to make. So the space scale defaults to one Maya unit being 1 meter, no matter what your actual Maya units are. So mine are centimeters. So to get this to be accurate to his scale, I'd need to set this to 0.01. So that 1 Maya unit, or 1 centimeter, is 0.01 of a meter, which is correct in this case. So that's that. Current frame, start frame, I want that to be 950. Well, that figures that one out. Alright, cool. And that gravity was insane. Cool. So let's grab you. Let's just go enclosure, trousers. And I guess it's not liking our scene scale. So unless that's an old thing, maybe it's... Let's set that to 1. Let's set this to 1 and see what happens. Because the video, he wasn't setting it to 0. I mean, I kind of love that. Okay, so let's set that back to 0. And I'm going to set up some constraints. I also need to turn off the thickness of these guys. Yeah, so in fact, let's set this a little bit thinner. So let's go 1. There we go, that's a little bit nicer. And then turn this off. So the first thing I've learned is that even though 1 meter per unit seems massive, actually, it seems like that might be the way to go. Unless I need to lower gravity, which could also make sense for the scale. Because if it assumes one unit 1 meter, maybe the gravity's set for that as well. Hey Kosi, how you doing, man? So that thickness, I'm going to lower that as well. And let's just set that to off. I'm going to need to get the vertices. Let's grab all these. Cool, grab that. Constraint, component to point to surface. No, is it component to surface or point to surface? I guess it's point to surface. Yeah, that's the one. And let's just let that play through. So obviously it's super stretchy. We'll have to change that. Yeah, it's super weird. But it's a simulation. Oh, I forgot to do something. I forgot to do something really important too. I can't delete the history because it's rigged. Right, go back to just before the enclosure. There we go. So that's still rigged, right? Yeah, cool. Now save my scene. I need to do a subdivide before I do all that stuff, just so I can turn up the quality whenever I want to. So let's just grab U. Let's turn off these collision thicknesses actually. So set 0.1 off. Set U to 0.1 and turn that off as well. There we go. So let's do a smooth. And that still works, right? Yep, that still works. Once we know that still works, now we can do the enclave. Enclave, create enclave. Call that enclave trousers for the third time now. Grab, set that back to its lowest level. So I'm going to go into the node editor for this. Which actually, it might be worth splitting this panel, putting a node editor here. And we'll keep this visible because it's kind of helpful. So there's my polysmooth. So we're just going to call this polysmooth face sim quality. Set this to 0 subdivision levels. And then, as same as last time, just grab all these. Constrain point to surface. Hide you because you're really weird. Did I not put an enclave on that? This is going to be a fun stream. Oh, wait, does that have to be set? Why have you broken? No more commands to undo. Oh, now you've broken too. Alright, let's reopen the scene. Yeah, we're gonna have a good stream. So much stuff is breaking so quickly. So, got our end rigids. So we just need to do a smooth, play through, that works. Then do enclave. So what's causing that to break? Oh, it's the, oh god, I keep forgetting about that. Alright, so it was working before, I just forgot. I had to set the play range, or the sim range to the current frame. Trousers. So we got our sim in there. Let's go to nucleus. 950. Cool. Set these again. It might be worth saving this as a different scene, which I think I'm going to do. Let's go out to here. Let's do O3 simulation. Cloth sims. Then StickyMonsters. So let's do char kid, cloth sims, then set you to 001. So if I go back to the beginning now, that's going to fall off, but that's what we're expecting, so that's fine for now. Does it move? Cool, that moves. So now set the panels node editor, play smooth face, set quality, set you back to 0. Grab all these guys again. Cool. Point to surface. I will be a master of doing these first few steps by the end of the stream because I would have redone them so many times. Okay, so we got mad stretching, but that's fine. So what we're going to do is basically sim on this quality level for a while, and then whenever you're ready, just go up, 1 or 2 sims, and the same vertices are constrained. It will get stretchier for every one we do, so we need to kind of monitor that. But so I guess with more vertices, it gets heavier. But yeah, so we'll set that back to 1, or back to 0 even. Get it working, and yeah, so let's get on with it. So we got our end cloth. I'm going to go into my collisions, self collision flag, full surface. I probably want the trousers to be, not the trousers, the shoes to be collision objects, although I kind of want to sim these as well, since they're going to be cloth anyway. But let's just take it one thing at a time, shall we? So, save this scene. So that's still a stretchy boy. Let's pick a preset. So I think I'm going to go with burlap, because burlap's like super heavy. Let's just let that do its thing. So I may need more simulation frames. We can do some input mesh attract as well if we want to maintain a little bit of volume. That does look a little bit strange. So let's just do that. I'm also going to test it out with a higher sim. And what I can do is just lower the mass by a factor of 4 every time I increase that poly smooth face. So let's do its thing for a moment. Of course, we always could take it into Marvelous Designer to do cloth sim. That is an option as well. It's a lot slower with the actual sim settings. I look forward to when we start actually grooming, because that's when the streams are going to get interesting again, I think. Just because I actually know what I'm doing when it comes to grooming, at least to some extent. So you see how with this higher sim quality we get like a lot more interest? Like we've got more wrinkles and that sort of stuff. It just looks cooler. We'll have to paint a map for the input mesh attract, I think, to get it to actually work. We're also going to have to change like bend resistances and that sort of stuff. So that's it, finished moving. Yeah, so with the size of the leg being so small, I think we may have to put another mesh in there to kind of collide with. Because it looks a little bit strange. So let's try set to 0. I just want to see how different they are. Yeah, so I'm going to have to really learn how these sim settings actually change everything. So let's go back into here. So I think I want to change the bend resistance a little bit. Oh, let's add a little bit of mesh input attract actually. So let's do 0.25. See if that does a better job at maintaining general volume. We can try 0.5 perhaps. We're going to start getting some weirdness at this point. So again, this is going to be quite a tedious thing, because while I learn how this stuff works, I'm going to need to kind of go back and forth with different sim settings. And it's going to be slow every time. In fact, I think starting on 950 might be a little bit much. So let's set our first frame to be 970. And let's just go into our enclave, or our nucleus even, say to 970. So now we just start a little bit closer every time. If it turns out we need a leg mesh below there, then I'll just quickly knock out a basic leg mesh. I can literally just duplicate the trouser mesh, shrink it down a bit, and use that. I'll have to bind it to the rig, but that's not really too big of an issue.
Do you want to see my pumpkin hands?
Sure. This is looking kind of interesting. It's just getting general forms. I feel like the amount of input mesh attract I've got is too much. But it's getting interesting shapes. Yeah, let me have a quick look. One sec. Okay, that might be interesting. It feels a bit baggy on him, but maybe that's what I want. Let's find out.
It's literally turning into me. Like, pumpkin hands! Pumpkin hands!
Kind of love them.
I literally...
Nice and bumpy.
Do you want to see what I was looking at?
What?
Do you want to see the best fucking pumpkin?
Oh my god.
I love it. I was just like, yes, pumpkin hands.
They're kind of cool.
So we have some pumpkin hands.
Yeah. You're really learning a lot with sculpting. It's good. Also, that criminal investigation video you're watching is like mental.
This one's nuts.
Yeah, it's absolutely mental.
I've watched all of them before, but
Is it Stephanie Lazarus? Is the name?
Yes,
yeah.
Stephanie killed the...
Yeah, she killed someone like 20 years ago.
The bit that I wish he did was he did like a background of the case, because most of the time he doesn't. I know the Jennifer's Solution one I've watched a recreation of before, and I completely missed out so much. They made it seem like that, so you know the one that the girl like she kills her parents and she tries to make it look like it's a robbery gone wrong, and then her dad wakes up and then just says no, like she wasn't tied up the doll and all that sort of shit. So I watched a recreation one of it on like Woman Kill, and it was so bad. Like they made it seem like she was a really like they were like helicopter parents, and you know that she was treated really badly, and that like she was like an A-star student, and then she like pretended that she wasn't, or you know like she was like basically like abused when it was like kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
It was really awkward. It was kind of, I was watching it like, this is so sad, and then I watched this video and was like, holy shit.
I just realised, so we're going to have a little bit of an issue here, which is the mesh has changed, so all the wrap deforms we've done won't like be the right ones anymore. So we're going to have to wrap 2. I just need to delete the history on this guy again. Wrap 2. Modeling, deform, wrap deformer. Hide these guys. This is a temp. I'm going to need to add the poly smooth face to them as well. And so I'll do a quick test render. Oh, that's going to be the wrong quality actually. Fuck. This is going to be one of those streams. Okay, so let's grab pants, delete history on you, Cool. Let's add a poly smooth face. That's set to 1. Good. Wrap U to U. Deform. Wrap deformer. It's going to go into my render settings for this guy, for this object even.
Basically making a white bitch version of a pumpkin.
Oh yeah. So let's just let that go. So I'll do a quick test render to see if we need to simplify the forms or not, because it did look a little bit funky. It may even turn out after all this that we actually just want to hand sculpt some wrinkles here or there. I might not actually need like proper cloth stem. I just want to learn about it really. I find it is really important to learn about this stuff, like, you know, push yourself to stuff that you don't know and, you know, just fucking go for it. Otherwise you don't grow as an artist. And hell, I've got a lot of growing to do. Once this gets to frame 30. Cool, kill that there. And then let's just unhide the everything. Just quickly test that out. It doesn't have to play through the frame range, does it? Oh, hello. My light group still hidden? It is, and my camera group. Oh. So the question is, does this look odd, or is it good enough? I guess the problem we're going to have with the trousers is they're very simple, like mesh wise, so we might not get a good idea of how they're supposed to look. It looks interesting. This wrinkle looks super strange to me, but I know it's just because that's the shape of his leg. That might work for now. I think I'll try lowering the input mesh attract. So let's hide all this stuff again. Hide the box, hide the monster, hide the environment, hide the coat. And let's go into perspective. Oh, we're already in perspective. Cool. Hide you. So, yeah, we need to lower that input mesh attraction because it's a bit too strong right now. And I think what I'll do in its place, so I'll set it to like 2.5. Oh, 2.5. And what I'll do in its place is just slightly increase the compression resistance. Oh, actually, that's already set pretty high. So how about bend resistance? Let's say that's like 6. And I think it will get slower as I increase that number. Oh, I'm going to need to hide the pants as well. I can probably lower the pre-roll even more because it looks like it's not even that active. Maybe 10 frames is all I need because it is quite a rigid setup, right? So let's just set you to 990. Because we do still need some pre-roll. Like, we can't get away with not having a pre-roll. Again, it just gives us less time to wait before it even starts simming. Because I don't know enough about simulation to know what these settings are going to do. Just mute my speakers. This looks a little bit more promising. Is this right, like, the screen left side of the thigh just looks super strange. But then I guess, I mean, if you got tiny little legs and big baggy trousers, that's gonna be what happens. Oh, I just gotta decide, do I want to keep the skinny legs? I'm going to try setting input mesh attract to 0. Set it to 0. Just because this leg looks super funky. Oh, it stretches a bit more now. So we should increase that stretch resistance a fair bit. Let's set you to 80. Double. We may want to increase compression resistance with that. We will find out. If anyone in the chat happens to know anything about cloth sim, please let me know kind of where I'm going wrong. Luckily, we're not getting any, well, we're not really getting much like interpenetration, so I don't have to worry too much about the, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't need to worry too much about the substeps, because it's already moving quite slow anyway. Let's try increasing the collision thickness of this guy, so let's go collision thickness. Oh, that's too thin. Yeah, so let's increase that. 2.5. That will change the way the wrinkles are slightly. Let's go even thicker actually. Let's go to like 0.4. Nice and thick. That's too much, but it might look interesting. And then let's check the self-collision thickness. Self-collision thickness is pretty intense. Is that what we want? I'm going to set that down. That's probably a terrible mistake to make. Stickiness I don't want to change because I think it's already gripping the surface enough. And then, is there anything here? Quality settings. I don't think we need to change any of these. Ben Solver wants to change to flip tracking at some point. Apparently that's the highest quality. I'm probably like misquoting that, but as far as I'm aware, that's the higher quality of the options. But it's also incredibly slow. So let's try that. And I'm just gonna alt save this guy. It's a bit slower this time. I'm going to treat that as a good sign. That bit completely collapses in on itself. Oh, that's a bit more interesting though. It's completely... I still don't know. Do I want to make a bulkier leg inside there just for it to collide against? I feel like I should. If I duplicate a skinned mesh, does it keep it skinning? Because I could literally just inflate the underneath mesh as like a duplicate. I don't think it keeps it skinning. We could transfer it, but I have no idea how to transfer skinning. So I'm going to start trying to paint some of this stuff. So let's go into Paint, 3D Paint, no, Encloth Vertex Maps. Or is it Encloth Texture Maps? Which one's the best one to go for? I think Texture Maps, just because we're going to be changing a topology constantly. So let's go Encloth Texture Maps. I'm just going to go with Input Attract. And then I'd love to see my actual painting. So that's all set to 1 already. Are you not going to let me paint? See, I don't know now, how do I actually paint? Can I try that again? Huh. What material is assigned to this? Pretty sure it's a Lambert, right? Let's try that again. Paint. Yeah, it's just not letting me, straight up not letting me paint. So irritating. Does that mean now that input mesh attract is like welded to 1? Let me check when my last save was. That's 4 minutes ago. I'll just load that. I don't want to paint a map in a separate software. Or maybe the color management's like completely confusing it. I just want to set input mesh attract to 1 and see if that helps with some of the issues I'm having. Or some of the things I'm not too keen on. Like the back of the leg collapsing and the hips collapsing. Setting this to 1 should mean that in theory it's basically doing nothing in simulation. Like, technically all it would be doing is fixing intersections. Slower than I expected. If we just want surface wrinkles, actually input mesh attract of 1 works. Maybe that's the way to go then. Maybe I need to set a crazy high input mesh attract. Because it's not physically accurate at all, but I don't want physically accurate, I just want appealing shapes. I don't care how I get there. Annoyingly, this might be the way to go. So setting that's like 0.9 or something. Because that looks better to me. Granted, because it's not working, because it's broken, it looks better to me. Let's try setting it to like 0.9. This stream, to be honest, is more of an R&D stream. So I don't know if we're going to get good results out of this stream. I don't know if we're going to get terrible results. Like,
Does that mean you're going to be up to 1 AM?
What, sorry?
Does that mean you're going to be up to 1 AM?
Well, once I end the stream, I might stay up and try to do some stuff. Yeah, so after the last stream, I ended up staying on until 1:30 in the morning to kind of continue getting stuff. Because I don't like wasting everyone's time. I feel like a lot of people that watch these, I mean, there's currently only 5 of you, there was 7 not too long ago. but I don't just want to waste all your time. Like, I feel like you guys already have so much other stuff you could be doing. If you're going to watch me, then I may as well try to make it interesting. So I try not to dwell too much on topics that I don't know that well, because they're just not as entertaining as far as I'm aware. Granted, the point of these isn't to be entertaining, it's to kind of, it's to motivate me to work, and then for you guys to ask questions if you have any questions about stuff that I do know about. This is not one of those things. If you do have questions, I can try to answer them. I mean, I know Encloth better than someone who's not done Encloth. I think 0.9 works. Actually, yeah, so I think going with a crazy high value might be the way to go. Although it does just look a bit weird, doesn't it? Set that to like point. What was 0.5 like? I can't even remember what 0.5 was like. Your model along. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that you like to use this as kind of a background thing. What are you modeling, man? Oh, what did I just click? Let's see what 0.5 does for us. And technically, instead of using input mesh attract, I should use like bend resistances and that sort of stuff, because in real life you don't have an input mesh to attract to. Like, it's just the cloth and how much it resists change. Studying hard surface. Oh, cool. Yeah, I need to do some hard surface work at some point. I think one of my next projects will be a hard surface, like a still life, because I wanted to do a still life around about the time I started this guy and the one before it, like FK Twigs. So that was going to be a still life originally. It's why I've worked elements of still life into these. So now we get into the region. The thing is, the way this is deforming is probably correct. I just don't like the way it looks. Let's set this to 0 and try bumping up the compression resistance a bit. In fact, let's bump that up to 60 and then set the bend resistance to 8? No, 10. Let's go 10. Arbitrary numbers. I'm not picking these with any particular knowledge of how they should be. No, I'm realizing, since this is going to be a video where I'm constantly just hitting play, I may as well move the microphone so that it's actually close to my mouth, so we get actually somewhat decent audio quality. I'm going to have to change the levels probably. The problem is like normally where I have the microphone, it's quite far away, just so that I can have my hands that I can use my whack on, because with the current desk space I have, I don't really have enough room to have the microphone where it currently is. But since this is a video where it's going to change the setting and then hit play and wait for a minute, I may as well get some half decent audio quality. I'm just going to check my levels in OBS. Minus 10 decibels. That seems alright. Bump that up a tiny bit. There we go. But yeah, so hopefully the voice should be a little bit higher quality now. And hopefully it shouldn't be deafening. I mean, it looks like it clipped a little bit. I didn't clip, but it did reach -5 decibels, which isn't that high. Or isn't that good. That's pretty high value. Right, so that's settled. Increasing the bend resistance gives me results that I prefer. So what happens if we show the coat now? This pose is so funky. I kind of like the way his body is posed, but I don't like the way the arms are posed. Let's just quickly check the render group. Show the environment, show the box, show the monster. Oh, I need to show the coat as well. It's a bit more interesting. So again, just rendered that. Oh, light group's still invisible. See if this is any better. It's the coat. Oh, it's broke. Oh yeah, because I've not shown the trousers. Because they're wrap deformed. So now I should be able to hit play. She's got such tiny legs, I kind of love it. It's going to be a nightmare for this cloth sim, but that looks interesting. That's quite interesting. Yeah, I'll keep that. Yeah, it looks like it might be the way to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to encache this, although I'm not sure if I like this tangent that it's got going at the moment. We'll keep it. So I'm just going to encache this guy. So let's go into effects. I'm just going to save my scene as well as. Cool. So let's go to encache, create new encache, an object, I think. Let's change the settings of this. I'll check the settings. Time slider, that's good by me. Oh, we don't need the full time slider actually. Let's go to 140. But no, we'll keep the full size. Yeah, let's create that. So this is gonna have to resim. Oh, viewers has dropped down to 2. Yep, one of those streams. So once we encache this, we can basically just kind of play through the time slider without it breaking, which means then I can start simming the coat and having the trousers as a collision object, because the trousers will need to be a collision object for this to work. I've just realized, is this going to be doing the wrong thing? Also, having it sim to the end is going to be a bit of a pain. Can you interrupt an encache? That's where I got to. Alright, let's see if I can hit escape on this. Looks like it's going to ignore me. So does that work? Oh, it does. Okay, so let's end this at 150. This is like a bit funky, but it works. I'm going to check the size of that cache as well, because I'm genuinely curious as to how big of a file that is. So let's go to projects, personal projects, StickyMonsters, and then it's going to be in cache, encache, cloth sims. Oh, Jesus. So it saves out every frame as a 43 kilobyte file. Why does it save out every frame? That seems a bit intense. How to play question, do you know how to improve topology flow? Books would be great. I don't know any books for it. I guess one of the absolute best tutorials, one of the absolute best resources at the moment is Andrew Hodgson. So let me just search him. Oh, shit. Microphone just fell forward. Let me just put something under the front of it. There we go. So yeah, Andrew Hodgson. This guy does streams. He does quite a lot of stuff, but he's got some really good tutorials available. So I'd check that out. There's obviously flip normals as well. So it's kind of up to you which one you kind of choose to go with. But yeah, I recommend him if you want to do hard surface, because he is like the pretty much undisputed king of at least public in terms of people who show what they do. He's one of the absolute peak. I think Vitaly Bulgarov might be a good Let me search. Yeah, Vitaly Bulgarov. This dude's insane as well. Let me just copy his name. You can look for this guy too. I don't know if he really does tutorials. I know he did record one of the sessions, but I wouldn't really count them as tutorials. But you get the general idea. Right, so let's start simming this guy. Kind of intimidated by this one, to be honest. So, sim meshes. I'm going to need the box, the scarf. I don't think I need the scarf right now. We can always add it later. I'll need you as a collision mesh. I think I'll ignore the shirt for now. We won't be simming the shirt as well, which makes our life a bit easier. So that's already a passive object, so let's just create you. I just realized it's creating bases for every thing that we do. So it's creating a base for the rig and a base for the sim, which is a little bit worrying. I don't know how the pipeline works for that. But yeah, so we've got our coat sim. So let's just quickly throw on a encloth. And just out of curiosity, I'm just gonna encloth coat. Beautiful. Yeah, so we're gonna need substeps on this guy. Oh, I forgot to do the thing as well. So let's show him. Add a poly smooth face. Then select that and do a encloth with that. And then name this guy encloth coat. And then I want the collision layer on this guy to be a bit higher, so that it knows it should be on top of the trousers no matter what. So where is collision layer? Collision layer, there we go. So let's just set that to 1. And just plug a preset into this guy. Again, let's go with burlap. And this was set to 80, that was set to 60. I'm just going to go with the same settings, and that was set to 10. Just to see kind of how it goes. And let's check the thickness of this guy. So we're going to go a little bit thicker again. Let's go 0.4 or 0.04. I said 0.4. Let that do its thing for a moment. Just clipping a little bit with this, so I might need to set the collar. I should probably turn the solver display off. May also need to go another subdivision higher. Actually, no, the bend resistance is going to be too high for this guy. This actually needs to be... Ah, shit, yeah. Okay, so this one's going to struggle. So let's try changing back to default burlap. And see how that does. How many polygons do you have? It should be enough to get something. It's already starting to slide through on the wrist there. So we're going to need more substeps. Oh, actually, no, that's the... Oh, shit. Yeah, okay, so the collision mesh is a bit bigger than the actual hand. Oh, clipping through there. So, that's something. Yeah, we need a lot more work on this guy. So, let's try a different preset. Let's try... Chiffon could look cool. We may also need to go up. In fact, let's go down to quality settings. Is it in quality settings actually? It's not, is it? It's in Is it in the enclave? Not the enclave. Is it in the... No, I have to be able to control this per object, surely. Oh. I'm going to set that to 1. I don't know why that's set to 3 by default. There's probably a really good reason that I don't understand. Hey Ian, how you doing, man? Time attributes, that's fine by me. Caching. Is this really the only place? Our nucleus? Substeps? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have to increase that. Let's go to like 8. So it's gonna be a lot slower now. But it may be what we need. We will need to set the box as a collision objects as well. Not bad, hope you're good. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, man. Just getting on with life, really. So I'm liking the creases that this is initially giving me. It's cut through on this side, so I need to increase the substeps even more. Actually, no. This isn't even a collision object, is it? Okay, so we'll let this do its thing, just so I can see how the armpit goes. It's freaking out there. Oh, shit. Beautiful. Let's kill that. So, I have no idea what's going on with that. I also feel like I'm going to need a higher subdivision. So, undo that. So we're going to need to set U as a collision object. So let's just go into our enclave, create passive collider, and then nRigid hands. Cool. Back to U. We're going to need a few more substeps. It's about to get even slower again. Which is in there. Substeps, let's go to 16. Oh, it's gonna get slow soon. Yeah, he started streaming on Twitch, I think. He's really, really good. I think he's partnered with Autodesk, right? Yeah. He occasionally gets other artists on his stream as well to kind of, talk to.
Michael Wild was on, I think, recently.
Yeah, Michael Wild was on it like literally a few weeks ago. They know each other from years ago. They both worked at NPC like 6 years ago. So I'm curious as to if the substeps is going to get this to not go mental. It looks a bit more promising. I think I'm going to have to crank up the stretch resistance. Because this is definitely stretching out. At least I think it is. Not too keen with what's happening on the arm just here. I also might need to do a might need to do some stuff here to prevent the shoulder from floating up, because I think he's dropping too quick for the strength of gravity, so I might need to do some constraints just to kind of pull that to the shoulder a little bit better. Of course, I could just do input mesh attract. But as I said earlier, I kind of want to avoid relying on input mesh attract. Christian Rodriguez, hello. Hello, man. Welcome to the stream. I think this is the first time I've seen you here. Oh, there it goes. If you're wondering what to expect from these streams, just, yeah, this, basically. So why is it exploding? I mean, it got further this time without exploding. Is it the self-collision thing? I've already hit pause. Let me pause. There's one thing that Maya sucks at, is actually pausing simulations. Like in Houdini, when you pause a simulation, it's instantly paused. Yeah, not too keen on this material. Like, ignoring the little bouquet of flowers that's got over here, like, it feels a bit too thin, like it's pulling against stuff too much. First time on a live stream, but I've watched some of the recorded ones. I hope you've enjoyed them, man. So, I need to figure out why that's going. It could be the self-collision iterations. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm hesitant just to add more quality. In fact, I need to set this as an collider. I'm worried about this right arm, because the right arm seems like it actually goes through this a little bit. So, I mean, I could just make a proxy of this. But yeah, I think I'll do that, because this is already going to be a pretty difficult mesh to use. So let's temporarily set you as a live object. I'm not set as a live object yet. Do I still have that cube? I used to have a cube for the positioning of this thing. I don't think I do anymore. Kind of irritating. Well, let's get the material right. Let's get this arm working first, and then we can worry about the other one. So presets, going to try a different preset. Definitely don't want lava. Could use t-shirt. Thick leather. Oh, thick leather could look interesting. So let's give this a go. Yeah, we'll need to set the height from the shoulder. Granted, the scarf's going to cover that quite a lot, so I don't need to worry about it too much. But it is worth worrying about, to some extent at least. But yeah, I'm hoping in the next like 2 streams I'll be starting on grooming, which is when we can really get moving on some stuff. Because grooming is, like, I think my main skill set at this point. I'd like modeling and look dev to be, but grooming is definitely the thing that I'm most advanced in, which makes sense because I was a groom artist for close to 3 years. But still, now that I'm a look dev artist, I'm getting to really develop the look dev side of things. It's quite nice. Really curious as to what this will do in a shoulder. Wonder if the self-collision thickness being set to 1 is the reason it's freaking out. Or maybe it does need to be higher. I've just realized why it might be completely freaking out. I've got a feeling there's some intersections going on in the pose. On the collision mesh itself. So some cloth is getting stuck in there. I mean, there is a setting to use for that. So I just need to find out how to use it. I like the wrinkles that this is giving me. I think thick leather is the way to go. It's quite a slow one. It's getting close and it's not freaked out yet. I'm about to curse it though. I guarantee it's about to freak out. Because now is when it'll be starting to intersect. If it's intersecting, which I think it is. We might have got away with it. Yeah, we got away with it. Let's let that go for a few more frames. I want to have a look around it. Collision mesh is a bit broken on the back, isn't it? Oh, that's not nice. The way it's bunching up like that. Do I need more polygons? I feel like I need more polygons. So it's going to get 4 times slower when I do this again. I feel like the shirt should be added as a collision mesh. So let's do that. So let's just go Encloth, create passive collider, and rigid shirt. So now it won't clip the back as badly, although I'm expecting it now to freak out on the collar because it's a thin mesh, and colliding with thin meshes, well, it's not a thin mesh, it's a thick mesh. Thin meshes are one-sided polygons, thick meshes have an extrusion. We'll see how this goes. Yeah, I will only be doing cloth sim today, guys. So if you're staying for me to do some modeling or texturing or lit dev work, just to let you know now, I won't be doing any of that. Because I want to get this cloth sim sorted. Because now I've got the rig in place, I'm close to being able to get things in their final pose and like actually set down and start doing some serious refinement. Because that's the stage I'm dying to get to, is actually refining this stuff and making it look good. Granted, I don't know how much further I can push it, not because it's good already, but because like I've been doing the project already for over a month. It's getting probably quite close to 2 months. I mean, we're on stream 20, and at this point for the Rowan creature, it was actually finished. I'm pretty sure stream 21 was the final stream for that. And the last stream was literally rendering and a comp, so it was done in stream 20. Whereas this one, I've still got all of groom to do, I've got a second pass of look dev to do and everything, got more texturing to do, got loads more environment stuff to do. So this is going to be another really long series where we're probably going to be as long, if not slightly longer than the FK Twig series. Which also, quick question, if you guys would prefer a lot more short projects rather than long projects like this one, let me know. Because I'm happy to do, like, for at least a little while. Obviously I want to do big projects from time to time, but for a little while I'm happy to do like speed projects where it's literally like 5 streams to do a character start to finish, where we don't care about topology, we don't care about rigging, like we'll just model it in pose, in sculpt, zero mesh, or whatever we need to do just to make a pretty image. I'd be happy to do that if that's what you guys are more interested in. So yeah, just let me know what you guys would find interesting, and I'm happy to kind of bend to whatever you guys want, at least for a little bit. Obviously in long term I want to control the projects I do, but I wonder how easy it is to bake simulation into a rig, just like as corrective shapes. Because in theory it shouldn't be that difficult. I'm just wondering how they blend, like how they mix together. So now it's in pose. It's just a case of letting it settle for like 5 frames or so. I mean, 5 frames is barely enough time for anything to settle. Anything, always learn a lot. I'm glad to hear you learn stuff, man. As said, if you ever want me to kind of chat about something, because obviously this stream is going to be very much a talking stream, because like most of this is waiting. I don't really know how effects artists get by their day. So yeah, I think this leather material is probably the most promising out of all of them. Because this looks interesting to me. I don't know if it's working quite yet, because I feel like one of the issues I'm going to have is, because I'm doing all this stuff on like really quite skinny meshes, I'm going to have like a really baggy feeling bit of clothing. But that might work to like a strength. I don't know. I'm also realizing I forgot to wrap deform the coat mesh to this. So we're going to have to do that now so I can actually render it and see how it looks. Because, you know, in viewport it looks kind of wacky, but once it's wrap deformed and rendered, it might actually look alright. So let's take that back one. And then let's get the coat. So what I'm going to do is delete the history on you. Add a subdivide, which I can undo at any point. And now with that subdivide on there, now wrap that to this, which I always remember with wrap to. So you select the thing you want to wrap and wrap it to the second object. Let's just go into deformers, wrap deformer. So they're now following, and I'm pretty sure these guys will still have their deformer linked up. If not, it's an easy enough thing. I want to cache everything. So let's just see how that looks. Because this is going to look kind of weird because this one actually has a thickness. So it's going to look a little bit different. Yeah, so they're not actually wrapped anymore. So let's just quickly wrap those on. Technically a point constraint is better, but wrap 2. Is that the better mesh to go for? I guess it technically is. Oh, what are you? Oh, you're part of this. Yeah, right, that makes sense. Deform, wrap deformer. So let's just alt save this scene. And just hit play on that. So I'm just going to run and grab a drink while that goes. Hopefully it doesn't freak out while I'm gone. Back in a sec, guys. There you go. Got some biscuits and some water. It's a good day. And it literally just got to the first frame. I just realised because I'm eating close to close to the microphone, it's going to sound really fucking odd. So I'll try to avoid eating towards the microphone. I know not everyone likes ASMR, and I don't understand how people who like their eating ASMR. That weirds me out. So what I've taken to doing is muting my microphone when I'm eating. So if you hear the audio cut out, don't worry, it's just because I've muted the mic. It's not the stream breaking. There we go. So I get to like 135, 140 maybe. And do a quick test render, see how these forms look. Because it might look really bad. I honestly don't know. I kind of want to add a little bit more bend resistance. So that it doesn't form any like tight wrinkles. Let's get that there. Cool. So what I'm going to do is save this snapshot. So view, no, window, no, render. Store snapshot, there we go. So that's with let's ignore the scarf for a moment. Right, I don't know if this is about to cause an issue. So it's updating a lot of stuff right now, so this is going to take like a minute or two. I'm going to cut out my audio so I can eat a biscuit. There we go. Looks like it loses too much volume. I'm going to need some input mesh attract on that. Yeah, it makes them feel really small. In some ways I kind of like it. I guess it's worth putting this with the scarf, so it's a fair comparison. So let's put the scarf on there. Obviously the scarf won't be reacting to it, so it's going to look super strange. Invalid syntax. Alright, cool. Let's just update full scene. Give this a minute to do its thing. YouTube's freaking out because it's got my it thinks my stream's got corrupted audio, but it's actually just because I turned my microphone off to eat. It doesn't look as bad with the scarf in there. I'll let this clean up for a moment. With the scarf in there, it looks okay. It actually kind of matches the shapes a bit better. I kind of like it. I kind of hate it. I can't decide which one it is. See, at some point I really want to do like a more technical project where I'm forced to learn like actual proper rigging and all that stuff. But I feel like that would be an awful stream series, because that would just be me watching tutorials and fucking them up, and then watching more tutorials and fucking those up ones slightly less, until eventually I'm not fucking up to the point of actually being able to make something. So they would be an awful stream series, but it could be interesting in general. So let's stop. Oh, fuck. I thought he was already on IPR. Alright, let's just give that a minute. There's fuck up number 58 of this stream. But yeah. So there's 6 people watching at the moment. I've seen 4 people comment. That's actually a pretty good ratio to normal. So who are you guys? Like, obviously, I know Kosi, Ian, and Oscar pretty well at this point. I've seen you guys quite a lot. Christian, as I said earlier, welcome to streams. If you guys want to tell me anything about you, like, what do you guys do? Do you work? Are you a student? Do you have any questions about the industry if you are a student and all that stuff? It'd be interesting to kind of find out, like, who's watching. Just to learn a bit more about you guys, really. Let's go to view, store snapshot. Let's just A/B those. That's quite a big difference. That's a really big difference. I'm not convinced that the difference is entirely working. So I might want to do some input mesh attract on the back to kind of keep the arch. Because the silhouette of this guy is close to what the reference has, whereas this one it's not. So you might need a bit of input mesh attract just on that back. Which is difficult because it's not letting me paint input mesh attraction maps. Unless the UVs are broken. Oh wait, I never actually checked the UVs on these guys. Let's go to UV editor. Oh, that could be why. What about the pants? The pants don't have UVs. Oh, that'd be why then. That'd be why they weren't working earlier. How did they lose their UVs? Why aren't you showing? Oh, you're over there. How did that ever happen? Okay, well now we know I can't paint maps, so I'm going to need to put some UVs on this guy. But he's already rigged. Fucking Christ. Okay, so this is why it's just to check like how stuff's working. So I guess we can do Vertex Maps. It just means that we can't change the simulation. That we can't change much about the actual simulation quality in terms of like the actual topology. Let's commit to this amount of topology because I think this is good enough, at least for the type of sim that I want. So let's just hide the coat for a moment, and we can hide you as well. So I'm going to select this guy, go back to frame number 1. I'm going to hide the scarf because he just gets in the way, and let's go into paint. Vertex Maps. Hate the fact I'm doing this. Input attract. Go into our tool settings and let's flood everything to 0. Paint attribute. That's not what I want. Input attract. Paint attributes. Flood. Cool. I'm a student. I'm in my final year of my BFA. Bachelor for Arts? Is that what you mean? Yeah, good luck with your final year, man. If you ever want feedback on stuff, if you think that will help you with your uni, then by all means feel free to send or ask me stuff. So I finished university 3 years ago now. Well, it's actually 3.5 years ago at this point. But yeah, so I remember the pain that you're going through. Right, so I'm gonna flood smooth this. One thing I actually found, I didn't know you could do this. You can actually flood smooth, which I think is an absolutely amazing feature that I was never told. And let's just paint 0 because that seems to be struggling a bit. Alright, that's it actually blurred, isn't it? Let's flood. Smooth again. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so it's just blur that all the way out, just so that everything's got some influence, I guess. There we go. So in theory, that will now have some input mesh attraction just on the back. So let's save my scene. I have no idea if that's going to work or not. All I know is I can't really change anything. I'm concentrating in CFX and grooming. I was wondering what it was like for you to get into the industry for grooming. Yeah, so I was quite fortunate on timing, which I know isn't exactly the most encouraging thing, especially considering the year that 2020 is. But basically, so I was finishing uni around the same time that MPC was hiring for Lion King. So there was quite a big rush for the industry to hire people in groom. So I kind of benefited from that because the groom industry isn't that big. It's actually quite a small thing. I do groom now. It's well, put it this way. So I'm at a smaller studio now, but it's still 200, 300 people. And there's really not many of us that do groom. There's 3 of us that can groom, at least in terms of job title. So it's really quite a small, skill set. And it's quite a specific skill set even. This isn't blurred enough. But yeah, so the point I'm trying to get to is in terms of me getting in, it was an even rarer skill set back then. So just being interested in groom back then was enough. In terms of now, advice for doing it now, it depends on exactly what type of grooming you want to do. One thing to be aware of is that grooming is not just creatures or digitables. It's also it can be clothing, it can be grass, it can be trees. I've even seen candy floss be one of the groomed assets in a studio before. So groom is basically anything that's fibrous, and you probably already know that to some extent, but you may not realize the job entails all that stuff. I can send the showreel that I submitted, the showreel that got me into MPC, if you want. That was, again, it's quite a while ago now. My work wasn't where it is now, but yeah, if you want me to send that through, I can put it in the chat. But if there's any specific questions as well, if you wanted to know about what people look for showreels or what studios look for, they may sound like the same question, but I don't think they really are. Depends on the studios and depends on the artist who's watching them. This looks like it's performing a bit better actually. But yeah, so just let me know what you want to know, and I'll be more than happy to answer, as long as it doesn't break any NDAs that I've signed. So let's just let this settle until frame 1035. Does it register at 2 frames after it's done? Oh no, it registers 1 frame after it's done. Alright, cool. So, is that better? I actually can't tell. Oh yeah, okay, so I need to work on the map a bit more. So let's go into Paint, Vertex Maps, and then Input Attract. Then you're set to Input Attract, good. Replace, value of 1, solid brush. I'm just going to paint a much stronger value. So let's flood that. Smooth again. So it mainly subtracts, which I guess is the issue I've got. It smooths down values. So let's extend this further than we need it, and then smooth down the values from there. Just smooth the fuck out of that. Blood. That needs to go even further forward, doesn't it? I'd love to see the reel that you applied with. Would help me scope a bit more where I'm at. Sure. I mean, so one thing to kind of mention, again, I was quite fortunate, so I didn't apply directly to MPC. I just happened to know the right people at the time. And also the reel that I submitted with is probably more than you need as a minimum to get in a job. So let me just go find Vimeo, MikeCauchi. In fact, actually, I'll get it from my website. It's a bit easier to find for me. I've got it bookmarked. Portfolio, generalist reel, there it is. This is massively out of date. This is my generalist reel, and it's 4 years out of date, but this is the one that I got into MPC with. So that's the reel from when I was graduating uni. I'm learning a tiny bit of grooming at school, but mostly been teaching myself. I get decent results. Watch some of your streams and I felt like I've been doing everything wrong. Oh, don't worry. When I watch streams of people that have been doing this longer than me, I feel like I do everything wrong as well. It's perfectly natural, mate. So don't ever worry about that sort of stuff. And again, if you want to learn some stuff, I'm more than happy to teach. But yeah, so yeah, the reel that I've sent you there, it was a modeling, look dev, and groom reel, because I didn't realize I wanted to do groom until like right before I finished uni, and that was again the coincidental timing. That's when they were really looking for groom artists, so it was just easier to get into groom than it was to get into look dev or modeling. I've always been more of a modeling artist generally in like my personal work, but it just so happens that my career has taken me every direction other than there. But yeah, so I'm going to change this color ramp because this clearly isn't working properly. I might need to paint the values manually. But anyway, so yeah, in that reel, I think there's 3 grooms. There's, well, there's 4 grooms technically, but 3 projects with grooms. So there's my BFX festival, which was 2016. So that groom was with N-Hair grooming and paint effects. So it wasn't XGen or Yeti or anything like that. It was just N-Hair and paint effects. Spent quite a while on him. He was painful to groom, especially since I was using N-Hair. The only reason I used N-Hair is because, or N-Hair and paint effects, is because back then XGen was a lot less understood generally. Like there wasn't many good tutorials for it, and I was just frankly terrified of XGen because of the reputation it's got. And even back then it was even worse reputation. Like they'd only just released Maya 2016. So that was when they updated XGen a little bit. That was the last big update for XGen. Well, core XGen anyway. Other than that, there was Char Bob. So he was my major project. I never actually rendered the final thing for my showreel because I got my job before I finished the final project. But he was XGen. So I built a tutorial kind of around the process of making him as like a student-friendly process, which if you go on my website, which is MikeCauchiArt, I'm just going to put that in the chat. So www.MikeCauchiArt.com. I've got some tutorials on there, some new, some old, some shit, some alright. But the beginner's guide to XGen was what I wrote kind of immediately after joining the industry. I kind of asked questions to people around me, learned what I did wrong, what I did right, and kind of built a tutorial that's like student friendly. So like, you know, that the pipeline I mentioned in that was the pipeline that we used on my final project, which I did with a team of 3 other people, one of which I actually work with now, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so that was that project. And then the last one, oh no, there is actually 4. Next one was a digidouble of a friend from university, which was a guy called Matt. That one was XGen. It was a bit quicker of a project than the other one, so the groom, it's pretty rough. It's not really got that much detail in it. Like there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of arbitrarily there. It's not actually based on the reference at all. I didn't know how to groom to reference back then. You can argue I still don't. I always like to add like stylistic spins to stuff. Even when I'm doing like VFX work, I always added a little bit of something just to kind of make it feel more interesting to me. Not strictly speaking good practice, but I just liked doing it. But yeah, so there was that project, and the final one was the Speed Groom, which was a super quick turnaround. That's the final frames. You'll notice it's a play blast. That's because I was asked to send a reel for my interview, and I wanted to get some more groom in there, so I just like did a super quick groom. I think he was 8 hours worth of work over 2 days. The groom is pretty rough as a result. It's got generally interesting guides, but it wasn't well built in the slightest. So that's all the grooms that are in it. The main issue with my reel is that it lacked diversity. It's just digidouble grooms, like the whole thing is just digidouble grooms, which isn't really ideal. So I recommend, if you want to get into the industry, I recommend, oh shit, this still isn't working. If you want to get into industry, I recommend having some good variety in your show reel. I recommend having at least one creature and one digidouble, obviously depending on the studio that you apply to. But showing that you can do both, it doesn't show that, oh yeah, he can do creatures and this. What it shows really is, oh, he can look at reference, because human hair and creature hair is very rarely even remotely similar. So if you can groom both, that shows that you're really good at looking at reference. Let's go input attract. I first learned grooming in Houdini. That's a good move. I had no idea how to use XGen, so I actually ended up using your XGen guides a lot. Helped me learn. Yeah, it's really cool to hear, man. I mean, I'd recommend continuing to learn Houdini. That's definitely the main tool out there right now. What's going on? Oh, it's set smooth. Yeah, that's definitely the main tool out there right now. So, you know, definitely get into Houdini again. But yeah, I'm glad that my guides helped you. It's really good to hear, man. I'm working on another tutorial series at the moment with flip normals, which are taking way longer than I expected. I should be finishing them within the next like 2 weeks. The main tutorials are finished. I just need to do what's the word I'm looking for? I just need to do the oh shit, what is the word I'm looking for? I just need to do the basics, like the production example. So basically just walking through like, here's how I approach an actual groom. So rather than, you know, most of the tutorials are strictly like, okay, so in this one we're going to talk about guides and what makes good guides, what makes bad guides. Next video is like, you know, how do we do clumping, you know, what methods are there and all that jazz. But I don't do them on an actual groom, so that's what I need to do now. But they're going to be a massive video. Like I think each video is going to be 3 hours, and there's 2 of them. That would be the non-abridged version. There will be like an abridged version. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to groom a digidouble character. I'm going to do one 30-minute video, which is going over creating the groom, you know, just recapping the stuff that I covered in the prior tutorials where everything's broken up into individual videos. And then I'm just going to show them in context. So I'll go in, I'll, you know, bring the model into the scene that we've already created. I don't think this input attract is working. But yeah, so bring everything in, make it look, you know, make it ready for grooming on, then do the actual groom work, and kind of block out guides and talk about hair density and that sort of stuff. And then what it will do is kind of end the video at about 30 minutes in. And at that point, I'll be kind of, you know, cutting to a non-time lapse of the entire guide grooming process. So that will take 2 to 3 hours, depending on how similar it is. Or how simple it is even, because I still haven't picked an exact hairstyle to do, and I'll be doing it next weekend, so may not stream next weekend, just as a heads up. But yeah, so once I've done that big video with all the guides, there'll then be another 30-minute video which goes through, okay, so we've got our guides with basic density and mass setup, let's start doing, you know, clumping, noise, and how to refine a groom, and that'll be 30 minutes, and then again there'll be another like 3-hour video at the end of that, which is entirely optional to watch because it won't be gaining new information. It'll just be showing, you know, live work if you're curious. And that one will be making like a detailed, well, not detailed, 6 hours worth of work isn't enough to make detailed, but kind of a more in-depth view into the process that I take for grooming. The tutorials are completely aimed at beginners. I don't expect pros to pick it up and learn much. I mean, you know, there's a few people who can learn more about XGen, sure, but most of it's like absolute fundamentals of how XGen works and how grooming in general works. So it should apply to most grooming softwares. in terms of the theory behind it. Obviously, there's some lessons that are strictly speaking like, okay, here's XGen's requirements, and those don't apply to things like Yeti or Natrix or Houdini. But all the actual grooming lessons should apply one-to-one with any other tool. So I tried to keep it like as software agnostic as I possibly could. This is looking a little bit more promising. This is still acting super weird here, but I think it's working better. I mean, if this still isn't working, I'll just set up some constraints, because that'll be just easier. But yeah, let's just let this do its thing. Yeah, I really want to continue using Houdini. Just got stuck in XGen. Just got stuck in XGen a bit this summer and fell because of 2 short films helping out in Maya. Ah, fair enough. So I think this is a little bit better. So let's show the group, open Arnold, and start this render. Hopefully that's got a little bit more volume at the back. If it doesn't, and it's just kind of placebo that I think it's got more volume, then I'll just have to constrain it. Not sure why the vertex map isn't working, or potentially isn't working. Maybe it's because I got live subdivisions on it. Might be fucking everything up. Sometimes it's really hard to know if this is actually going or not. Yeah, it didn't change anything. That's annoying. So, do I need to set it to actually use the map or something? Is that what the issue is? Let's go into our... I don't know why I still got this quick rig thing, because I deleted that completely out. Enclave. So let's go to dynamic properties, input mesh attract. How do I set you to use... How do I connect it then? Let me just check. Enclave connect vertex maps. You can paint enclave properties with vertex maps or texture maps. When you paint the vertex maps, enclave property values you're painting are stored per vertex on your enclave. Vertex maps do not require clean UVs. When you paint texture maps, the enclave property values. Yes, but show me how to actually connect it up. You can paint, yeah, know that, I know that, I know that. Set the enclave object, go to paint enclave properties on its vertices, enclave, paint vertex properties, enclave property. Is there something that I've missed? Paint the vertex properties as desired. That should be working. Can you not read it from the vertex? Sorry guys, I just need to see if I can get this working. That's the same documentation again. This is an amazing reference. What the fuck? Alright, I just found this reference. I'm gonna put this in the chat for backup. So how do I actually use this map? Because I think that's what the issue is. It's not actually using the map, but I don't know how to connect this. Let's go into the node editor, which actually I've already got set up, right? No, I don't. Panels, node editor. So that's the proxy shape going into this. How do I get the vertex attributes? That'd be so frustrating if I can't. Oh wait, input mesh attract per vertex. So you're connected? So do I need to turn this on? Oh, that might be a multiplier. Let's try that. Yeah, that makes sense for it to be a multiplier. Alright, so that's already set up to actually work. So let's set that to 1. Is it drooping? Is it going slower than it was last time? It might actually be working. Sick. It's definitely considerably slower than it was last time, which is normally a good sign. So I'm going to treat it like it is a good sign. It looks pretty promising. That's definitely a lot less fucked up than it was last time. Has it used input mesh attract at 1 for the whole mesh? It's possible I smoothed it out too far. No, it looks like it might be working. Cool. It's weird that it acts as a multiplier, but at the same time it does make sense. Because if you had to constantly paint values and then you had to change it, the blends are going to have to be completely redone every time, and that just sounds like a terrible time. So I think what I'm going to need to do is paint the input mesh attraction to near 0 at the color line, because that looks like it's getting pretty fucked up. So that means I can now do it on the trousers, so I can delete the end cache for those. That's good. So if I want to kind of make the leg a bit more rigid, I can do that. Oh. You were doing so well. Okay, well I know it works at 0 input mesh attraction. So now let's just paint the arms to 0. Yes, yes, I know. Let me pause. There we go. It's beautiful. So that's going to paint, encloth vertex maps, go back into input attract. I'm just going to paint this to 0, because I imagine this is where the issue is. So tool options, paint to 0, because we know it works at 0. I guess we want to paint you down there as well. I need to hide the box and the monster. Paint. I hate that so much. Just cross you. Really tempted to buy the new Call of Duty so I can play the beta this weekend. I literally reinstalled Modern Warfare like today. Oh no, was it yesterday? It was yesterday. Been replaying the campaign. Haven't really played Warzone though, because that shit fucks me up. I've become a nervous wreck in Warzone. So, pull you back. This should now work, ideally. So let's do that. Kill that. Save. Let it do its thing for a while and see if it explodes again. It's annoying that there's no way to find out if it's going to explode way before, but, you know, so be it. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. I was really hoping it doesn't explode right now. It's annoying that it explodes on frame 130. Which technically means I could cache it and stop at frame 129, but still, like, I don't want to do that. I'd rather learn how to actually stop it from breaking. I'm just watching where it starts. Come on. Survive. God fucking damn it, frame 129. And it's happening in the same place. Right. Why is it exploding? See, there is a setting you can use, but I don't want to. So, basically somewhere near the bottom of this, I think it's in quality, there's a self-trap check and a trap check. Push out we can set to a very low value. Crossover push, let's set that to 1. And let's just see if that works. This will be a lot slower again. Like a lot slower. Because now it's got to do like checks on every single frame. Each frame now takes what? 4 seconds? 5 seconds? 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds pretty much exactly on some of the easier frames. Really hoping it doesn't break. If it does, we could always blend shape it to the input mesh and paint and wait for the blend shape. That's another way of doing it, and that's a pretty easy way of doing it, to be honest. It just gets a little bit gross doing that. Because then you're not handling anything in the simulation anymore. It's like the equivalent of changing opacity on a layer. It's not the same as painting with flow in that same layer. So it's due to break in 6 frames. Or 7 frames even. Go on, you can do it. Does it go? It's slowing way down, so it must be fixing itself. Hey, there we go. Does it break on the next frame? So I think it is an intersection issue. It's passing through itself, and with input mesh attraction being set on at all, it can't deal with that. Right, I'm gonna try to kill the render, let this calculate. There we go. Just waiting for the playback to die. They should probably look into Bifrost cloth at some point. Yeah, looks like it's worked. Kept our volume at the top. Arguably a bit too smooth now, but yeah, so be it. Makes him look like he's got a bigger back. So in some ways I actually kind of prefer the way this looks, because it feels like it's stretched out around his back. But let's just add the coat back in. Let's add the scarf back in. And these guys too. That looks like it would be a lot better. There we go. That's a lot better. It's changed how it acts here completely. Like, really a lot, which I'm not too keen on. And it's still losing volume. It's just not losing volume the same way it was before. But that looks a lot better to me. I'm happy to keep that. So what else do we need to sim? See, I'm quite happily surprised by how well the scarf holds up, so I'm actually not going to sim that, just to keep my life a bit simpler. So I guess I just bake these now then, right? I need to sim this guy. The buttons are getting a bit torn up. Because they need point constraints rather than wrap deformers. Wrap deformers aren't great with this sort of stuff, especially Maya's default wrap deformer. It's a little bit shit from what I've heard. Having spoken to people who actually know what they're doing, like they say that the Maya wrap deformer just really isn't that good. Like, it doesn't give a shit about volume and all that sort of stuff. That's looking good to me. We've done cloth simulation. I'm basically an effects artist now, right? That's how that works. So let's kill that. I'm gonna cache this guy out. So let's just go to effects and cache, create new cache and object. And how does it select the name? It doesn't. Alarming. Okay. So what do we use then? Do I just export a cache of the... well, I don't even need a cache, I just need a still frame, right? So I could export an alembic of the coat as it is exactly right now. I could export the entire character exactly as it is right now. Ideally just the coat though, because I don't want to have to export everything. Let's grab just these guys and export a still frame as an alembic. So let's just go cache alembic, export selection to alembic. We want current frame, which is 131. We want UV right, UV sets, world space, anything else. Don't need color sets, don't need any of that stuff. Export selection. Let's take that to, well, I guess cache, alembic, cloth sims 01.abc. Oh. 01. Cool. So now what I can probably do and get away with is delete my coat. Actually, I should get the full frame range for that guy, shouldn't I? God. Because I might need it. Well, actually, no, because I've got... If I need to get back into bind pose, I've got the same topology. So that doesn't matter. Alright, cool. So we can ignore that now. So let's just save this scene as a new version. Move my camera, save as a new version. And then I guess what we can do now is just delete the coat. Do you recommend when doing a creature for it to be for real animation to match it, or a made up creature like your Rowan creature? For shooting real. So it depends how pedantic you want to be. I mean, a good groom is a good groom. It doesn't matter if it's matching a reference or not. That's my general opinion of it. Like, if I see a fictional creature groom that looks good and looks believable, that will impress me just as much as a real creature that looks believable. Technically, you should aim for a real creature so that people can look at reference and know exactly what you were going for, because ultimately your job as a visual effects artist or animation artist or whatever is to match references. Ultimately, that's what your job boils down to. So it's worth kind of, you know, getting that, showing that you can do that. I'm going to need to move this scarf, aren't I, to get it to match a shoulder. But yeah, so I'd say go with something that's not, go with something that's matching reference. That might be your best bet. Anyway, I'm going to delete the pants, delete the coat, delete all these guys, and then let's just hide you, file, import. I actually don't want there. I want to go to cache, Alembic. So I didn't bring the trousers with it. Oh, there they are. Cool. So let's just, I don't need these guys. Got the coat buttons. So what was on those? It was gold matte, right? So add existing material. Was it the coat matte as well? Hello.
I didn't buy bleach. I bought like toilet cleaner.
Right.
And I was going to put it in the bath, so I didn't do it today. And it's blue. So you try to get it out of the bath because you know, like if you put it on the toilet, every time you flush it, like gradually breaks it down.
Yeah.
Obviously it doesn't happen in the shower, so I was like, and hot water was just like, anything with scrubbing was just like not happening. I was like, I don't want this bath to be blue.
Yeah.
It came out. It's one of those breakdown.
Where's the trousers? There it is, trousers map. I had to fix my naming conventions, they're not consistent. Bad Michael. Let's go to subdivision, turn that on, set you to like 4 subdivs, which is a lot, but yeah, it doesn't matter that much. Clark, 4. Yeah, I feel like they're getting crushed down a bit. Oh yeah, that's getting really fucked up. Might look interesting though. Bending the button. That needs this. So let's just do store this, and then do another test render. Then we'll sim the box being opened. So that isn't the material they had. Interesting. So what material did they have? Is it one of the unnamed ones? That'd be really great. Windows, browser.
You are so beautiful, my girl.
Did you just call me beautiful? Are you okay? What? At you. You sneeze at me. At you.
I bite my thumb to you, sir.
What?
Have you not seen that before? I bite my
No.
thumb. You never heard of the bite my thumb meme?
No?
Michael, you're so uncultured.
I mean, I've known that for a while.
It's like when you know, like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's an active sound. It's like an sound might be immature or someone. I think it's from Romeo and Juliet, but like.
I fucked up. I thought I called it gold material. So I'm just gonna open an old scene. To see what material is attached. This is really bad practice. Temp metal A, okay. So it's temp metal A. You've got kit coat. You've got trouser. Beautiful. There we go. Hey Becca.
What?
We have simulated clothing.
Like shit, mate.
Yeah, it does. Thanks. What the hell is this?
The back reminds me of your bathrobe because just I don't know if it's just the little wrinkly bit on it, but it just reminds me of your bathrobe. It's nice.
Thanks. Right, so we need these guys to go in coat group. You to go in there. And let's modify. Don't need to freeze transforms. What's the thing I'm looking for right now? Oh. How did that happen? Let's go to modeling, UVs, UV editor. Straps are right there. Why have they got the wrong material assigned? That's super weird. Kind of like it in some ways. It's got a different colour on the inside of the coat. Is that one of those happy accidents that now I might end up keeping? We just need to go into modify. No, sorry. General editors namespace editor. Got that eventually. Render, update full scene. I may need to go into node editor to fix the material assignment. Looks like it's working fine now. Wonder why it broke. Either way, so we got those working now. We need to set up the box. So the box is simple enough because all we need is a collision on this guy. So let's go into the effects menu. Cool. Encloth, create passive collider. This one needs to be a chunky boy because I need to allow room for the hair. Is my nucleus not set up to be first frame again? That's set to 990, so why is it not displaying? Alright, well I guess we're keeping that at its default, 0.1. I can always increase it later. This needs some collisions, Encloth, passive collider. Oh, there we go. So this guy can be N-rigid monster. Actually, do I want it to be there, or do I want it to be higher? I think I want it to be higher, right? Because now's the time to decide on all this stuff. I mean, I'm only moving the lower body right now. I might change the upper body later. That looks alright. Does that work still? No, that doesn't update. Alright, so let's delete that. This one is N-rigid box. Cool. Put one on you as well. N-rigid monster. There we go. So how chunky do I need this to go? Because I need to leave room for fur. I think this is a reasonable amount. Let's play back actually a little bit. Let's go to like 0.2. And then this guy, I want this to be pretty slim. There you go. Just barely bigger than the actual thing. So yeah, let's turn that off. Turn that off. We're going to need to make a duplicate of this guy because it's got a thickness and we do not want that. So just going to call this box curtains sim proxy. Solo this. And then all I'm going to do, I'm pretty sure these aren't connected. That's good. It's not connected. I'm going to need to grab basically everything that isn't like the outermost faces. In fact, why am I doing it this way when I could do it this way? Cool. So we got those. This needs an Encloth, and I'm going to need to weld all these top points. So let's throw. We don't need any subdivisions. I know that for sure. I guess really we don't need the top either. So let's get rid of those. No, I'm going to keep that just in case I need it. I don't think I do, but just in case. So then what we're going to need now is... Oh, can I switch on the collision for this? Collide strength, there we go. Yeah, so I can animate that. Cool. But yeah, so we got that. I'm going to attach an Encloth to that. And then let's just hit play and watch it immediately explode. Yep, there we go. So undo that. We want this guy to have collide strength set to 0 for a moment. I just want to see how it works. Oh, we need to hide the actual box curtains as well. Cool. So we're going to need to select all these verts and constrain that to this. Encloth, no, and constraint, point to surface. And then we need the top row of these ones. So let's select that. Then just grab the top row. No. Do I really need to do this? Oh, they're at an angle too. Alright, box select, do that. 24. That looks good to me. Gonna have to do the same on this side. Let's see if we can find an angle that's like near flat. Cool. Then constrain those to this as well. And constraint. Point to surface. Hit play. Cool, so now it actually holds on. It stretches like a motherfucker, but it holds on. So what we're going to need now is to figure out how fast this thing moves. Oh, let's actually throw a preset on that, as always. Let's just grab the ink cloth. Presets, let's go to burlap, that's my go-to. That's working a lot better. Cool. Then let's hide this mesh for a moment. Just quickly check. Nope. It being hidden doesn't stop it. So let's unhide that. Can I turn off the simulation in here? Yeah, I can. Cool. So I'm going to need to animate a sphere. So let's just go like that. In fact, let's just move that forward. Create a cylinder as well. J. I can delete that actually and just get the back half of this. In fact, let's make it as easy as possible on myself. So create a cube, smooth it. Create a deformer, deform, sculpt, deform. Cool. Delete the back half of this. But no, let's not delete the back half. Let's do something else. Let's grab the back half, flatten it completely, then extrude. It's a bit easier. So make this quads. And this is basically a proxy for the monster, like flying out of the box. So I need to move that up here. Move it to about the right position. Something like that is probably good enough. And then move that behind all this stuff. Put that there, keyframe. Go to about here, keyframe. And then we need to figure out how fast it moves. So let's go to here. Let's go about there. So that's going to need a crazy amount of substeps, but that feels about right to me. Hey Becca, in terms of how fast the monster comes out the box, obviously it's proxy as fuck, but no, I'm getting a proxy for simulation because its head obviously has to fly through this thing, so I need the curtains to kick out. So this is like the speed of it moving out. Do you think that's too quick, too slow, weird?
Why help me then?
Because I need to simulate the cloth of this being blown open, and I can't just turn on wind. I need like something to fly through it. Oh yeah, but I don't need to do the full path. I literally just need it to impact the curtains to blow them. So in terms of speed, so I think that's currently set to 10 frames from there to there.
That might be too quick. I don't know. Like ready? So start counting in your head like 1, 2. That might be alright then. You might be right.
Yeah, it's about half a second.
Yeah.
We'll test it. All right, so I'm going to add a FX encloth, create passive collider. we're going to need some serious substeps on this, so I'm going to go with 20. And then let's just see how that goes on its own. Oh yeah, I've turned the end cloth off, of course. Turn the end cloth back on. And watch it explode. If it's too quick, then we'll probably blow it out too far. Oh, Jesus. Frictions may be set a little bit high. Why are the normals so fucked? So can I turn friction lower on just this guy? Yeah, let's turn friction off for this guy. Is it still gripping? Or is that, no, that's sub steps still. Loving the normals. So, even more sub steps. We can also set this to be a bit chunkier. Let's try that. There we go. So let's go to our end cloth. No, nucleus. Sorry, and I don't know how many this should have, and I don't know how many this should have. Let's go to 40, which I still feel is probably not that much, but this is moving quite quick. Basically what substeps does, if you don't know, it's basically per frame how many times does it simulate, but I don't mean that in like, oh, you know, it does the same simulation 40 times. What it does is it divides it up. So one frame, it will kind of pretend there's like 40 frames below that. So like between every frame there's 40 little points that it can, you know, it can use. I'm gonna try turning friction off, because this is clearly sticking too much. And I don't think substeps is helping. Come on. Could also be stretch resistance. I could turn stretch resistance up to like 100. I'm also going to set the normals to face. Then soften. So doing that after simulation is probably pretty bad, but let's set this to like 12 substeps and go into our end cloth and set U to have way less friction. Where is friction? There it is. Set that to 1. There we go, that's more like it. So it's friction is the issue. So then what we can do is animate this guy to turn on. So let's set frame 1000, it's turned off. So collide strength set key. And then it should still be off at this point, I think. Yeah, so it can still be off until this point. And then one frame later, it suddenly is all the way on, set key. So then when it drops down onto it, I think I want even less friction. So let's try setting friction to 0.4, 0.5. When grooming an animal for animation, is a scalp mesh still necessary to do, or just a body geo fully covered in fur? So it's a topic up for debate, to be honest. Different studios have different approaches. I personally don't use scalps for creatures. I prefer to use UV sets, which I shown in the Rowan creature series. So that might be worth looking into potentially. But yeah, basically, rather than use a scalp, what you can do is set your UVs to like 2 different sets of UVs. So you can have one that's for grooming and one that's for everything else. And that one for everything else will do like a ton of work for you. But it just means that you don't have to have, oh, fuck's sake. You don't have to have scalp meshes on everything. I mean, you can use the scalp mesh if you want and just wrap deform it. That's also fine. I mean, I'm not entirely sure. The mode I'm in right now mentally, I'm not seemingly capable of explaining when to use them. For me, it's a preference, to be honest. But it might be worth looking into UV sets. That it could be worth doing. Depends on the groom system you're using. With X-Gen, I recommend UV sets for creatures. It just simplifies the whole process for grooming. Oh, it's self-colliding. Alright, so let's go into... Is it self-colliding there? I don't think so. So let's change our settings. Time attributes, that's fine. Quality settings. I'm going to set you to flip tracking, and I'm going to add that. So I don't know why it's not letting me add self check. Oh, I also need to turn the display off for that. So I might change the cloth type that we're using for the curtains there, because burlap might be a bit too heavy. I'm also going to set the friction even lower. So let's go to 0.25. Because I'm not too worried about being physically accurate. I mean, at the end of the day, this is like a miniature, which actually might mean that my cloth sim needs to change. Because if it's miniature, then naturally you're going to have different results. Pause that there. It's still completely self-intersecting and it won't let me turn that off. This is so distressing. Like, I know that that's the thing right there. That is the thing that will fix this. I'm just going to set it to 0.1, see if it helps. I can do more sub-steps, I guess, because it's a pretty quick sim. So let's go into nucleus. Let's do more collision iterations, actually. Let's do like 8 and set this to 16. So this is going to be considerably slower now. I'm pretty sure these are calculated per sub-step. Yeah, this is a lot slower, which is normally a good sign. There we go. Well, it did a better job. It's still fucked. Let's give it some more iterations. I see, I don't know which one needs to go up. I'm going to put both of them up. Because I'm not exactly in a, a issue where I need to be ready for pipeline. Like, once I've done this, I'm just going to save out a still frame. Oh, that's what it is. It's the collision of this guy turning on too quickly. Okay, so I need to... I wish I could see the keyframes. So that's what it is. Put that there. Set key. Set key. So now it's not turning on in one frame, it shouldn't snap out as much. Another question, can XGen work with a mesh that has UVs across multiple UDOMs? Working right now, setting up groom for stylized bird. Yeah, so XGen itself can. I don't recommend it though, just because a lot of the stuff that you have to use with XGen isn't great with UDOMs, so like the Maya Paint tool, for example. But XGen itself doesn't care. It uses PTEX, so as long as your topology is not changing, it doesn't give a shit about UVs really. But that's why I normally recommend scalps or UV sets though, because you can just have one UV set that isn't using UDOMs, which is used by your groom, which is ideally the default UVs, because again Maya is shit with UDOMs. And then you can set up another UV set, which is like your full UDOM setup, and you can set Arnold to use whatever you want, or you can set RenderMan to use whatever you want. I actually don't know how you set Arnold to use different UV sets. I think you have to use a specific read node, like rather than use the file node in your Hypershade, you have to use a AI image. Now they should pick UV sets. Yeah, there we go. So we just need to wrap deform this now, right? So let's get the curtains and wrap U to U, deform, wrap deformer, and let's watch this break itself. So now the mesh will have a thickness and the correct everything else really. Oh, something's got a bit. Oh no. Wrap deformer's gonna get fucked. Okay, so it's the best move for me just to add a thickness to... Oh, that's so annoying. The best bet might be for me to manually add a thickness to the sim mesh. Let's hide that. I can just set up an extrude. I'll do that per frame, which means it's going to be super slow, I think. But because of history, it will simulate without a thickness and then extrude. Which is, again, something that I'd like to repeat, is people go on like, oh, Houdini, Yeti, and all these programs that node-based are like so much better because they're node-based. So Maya's node-based as well. It just hides it behind everything. But the order in which you do stuff completely changes the output. If I was to extrude it and then do the cloth sim, then it would have to simulate with thickness. But if I cloth sim and then extrude it, it will do the cloth sim with a thin mesh and then extrude it to create a thickness. So it'll always be uniform. And if you go in the node editor, you can see the the sequence of the nodes. So it's the exact same as like Houdini and all those in that way. So it's just something to be aware of, really. It's like, the order you do stuff really matters. Okay, so let's try rendering this guy now. I'm going to make the groom visible. Or not the groom, the head hair temp. Let's save the scene as it currently sits. And let's just render the whole region that the character stands in. Oh, and a bit more. There we go. Right, let's go and mute my mic for a second. I'm just going to head to the toilet while this renders. Back in a second, guys. And I'm back. It looks like it's really struggling to start this render, so I'm going to have to kill that and update full scene here. Don't know why I have to click update full scene sometimes. No. That's broken. I bet it is. I've been seeing your work on Linked. Hard work is paying off. Keep it up. What was that in response to? Sorry, I can't remember what I said.
Mike went to the bathroom.
Yeah, I went to the bathroom. Your hard work's paying off. It's like, thanks. I took a piss.
I recognize Christian's name.
You recognize Christian's name?
Google.
My girlfriend's about to stalk Christian. Sorry, Christian. Ooh, that's interesting. Why is that not rendering?
I don't know, they don't. I just look at them all.
Output cloth. Oh, it's you.
No, actually, they don't need to be. I thought the hands would be a bit bigger on this.
There we go. Oh, it's just something to Christian. Oh, that's cool.
Did you know
I was so confused.
that you are a footballer?
I was just like, it's so weird for someone to say your hard work's paying off when I'm taking a piss. Like, I was so confused. I actually kind of like the look of this. A little bit of cloth dynamics, and it looks a lot more interesting.
Want to show them what I'm working on?
Sure, do you want to send me a picture? Padwan.
Oh, is this?
Oh, yeah.
I'm working on a version of me.
Open imaging tab.
But, plot twist.
As a pumpkin.
I'm a pumpkin.
Hab the pumpkin.
Huh?
Hab the pumpkin. Do you remember that?
What is it?
Batman versus Spider-Man.
I love that.
Hab the pumpkin.
Want to come up a page?
If you guys want to see the dumbest thing, there's...
It's dumb though, it's fucking amazing.
No, it's dumb. This is really nice, but on the topic of Batman and Spider-Man, it's a 2D animated series about Batman and Spider-Man, but everything's like really dumbed down, so they're called Batman and Spider-Man, and they have a best friend who is a tuba.
A
tuba. And they have a pumpkin that screams. Or a bumpkin.
Yeah, but like it screams randomly, doesn't it? Like,
it screams, yeah, completely random.
It appears like randomly, and they're like, tuba.
Did you want to talk about your sculpturing?
It's me.
This is actually what she looks like.
I'm not gonna lie, the hair is kind of my hair, so it's kind of funny at the same time.
Leafy.
I started on a concept, but then was like, I want to make me, because then I realized the hair, I was looking at my own hair while doing.
Right, I've just realized it's gone 11, so actually this is a really good time to end the stream, because we've got all of our stuff in place. So I'm going to save this scene as a new version and delete the history on this guy. So he's now locked in place. I think. I might just duplicate him. So now it's got 2 shape nodes, which isn't ideal. Box curtains, geo. Oh, they're still there, that's why. And then I need to delete one of the shape nodes. Oh, I've already got another. Oh, I accidentally killed it. Toolbar. I've lost my mind.
Plug a welcome tablet in, and then you start trying to move things, and you're like, why no? And then you're like, oh wait, never mind.
Yeah. Okay, so that one's not being used. If I actually does, undo that.
Why are all the brown bits that I find that I really want really fucking expensive?
I don't know.
The long ones, you like nice leather ones.
Yeah.
Fucking expensive.
There we go. Right, so there we go. I can kick off my end of stream render now.
These are nice.
But yeah, so that's gonna be it for this stream. I've learned a shit ton of stuff. I hope you guys have learned something too. Oh, I forgot to make this guy not renderable. In fact, I can delete him now because he's not needed. But yeah, so oh, I should have done motion. Fuck. I should have kept the cache of the cloth sim so I can do motion blur.
I'll probably ask a question.
What question?
Whenever you're off.
Oh, when I end the stream. Alright, cool. I'm going to revert to the previous... I'm going to end the stream here. But yeah, off stream I'm going to revert to the previous save, cache the curtain animating so I can get some motion blur on there. Because I think that will kind of help make things look cool. Although the fur is going to be settled, so maybe I shouldn't have motion blur on there. Who knows? I'll figure it out. I can always come back to this scene. But yeah, so as I said, I hope you guys have learned something. If not, that's cool too. But yeah, I'll be back on... What day is it today? Saturday? I'll be back on Tuesday. And depending on what I do off stream, and if I decide I want to thicken up the legs a little bit, because they are like little chicken legs, then maybe we'll be doing some more cloth sim. Maybe we'll revisit some stuff in the rig, who knows. Or, entirely possible, could start on groom once we've got the body for the giant monster thing sorted. But yeah, so enjoy the rest of your night, guys, and I'll hopefully see a few of you on Tuesday. Bye bye.
Yes, question.
Wait.